Howdy there folks, and welcome to Bullets for Bucks. My name's Steven, and today we're going to be comparing the Bergara B14 Wilderness Ridge in 300 PRC against the Christensen Ridgeline in 300 PRC. As you can see, the Bergara is in an aftermarket Wux Furiosa chassis, but we will be comparing it for specification sake against the original stock, and in the shooting in this video to come where we test it, it will be against the original configuration. Let's first take a look at the Christensen Ridgeline. It has a slimmed out recoil pad that's rubber here, a little bit softer than some others I've seen. Relatively traditional stock design. It's made out of fiberglass or kind of like fiberglass-ish polymer. Some advertisements say it's polymer, some say it's fiberglass. To me, it feels like polymer reinforced with fiberglass fibers or fiber reinforced polymer. Either way, to me, feels and looks like fiberglass. It's got a sling swivel stud back here, really pretty slim palm swell, or lack of palm swell, I should say. Then coming forward, you have a aluminum bottom metal and trigger guard. Comes with a floor plate that is something you can open, and it has a Trigger Tech field trigger that's adjustable down to 2.5 pounds, an excellent single stage trigger. And then it features a stainless steel receiver, uses the Remington 700 footprint, so the recoil lug is sandwiched between the barrel and the receiver itself. This features spot bedding and pillar bedding, so pretty good bedding on this. Has a 90-degree bolt lift, side bolt release lever, 2 locking lugs, plunge rejector, and a Sacco style extractor. Little tactical like bolt knob, and it is spiral fluted. Rides pretty smooth in the receiver. Kind of feels loose though, a little bit sloppy, but rides smooth. 2-position safety. On safe, it does not lock the bolt in place. Drilled and tapped for a scope base, obviously. Fore end of this is pretty slim, and it has a front sling swivel stud. Barrel is free floated, and it does feature a 26-inch carbon fiber wrapped barrel that is stainless steel core from Christensen, as well as a radial muzzle brake. It's threaded 5/8 by 24. This rifle is very lightweight. I believe it comes in at only 6.8 pounds, and it's 48 inches long. Now let's take a look at the Bergara Wilderness Ridge, starting with the stock itself. Bergara Wilderness Ridge features a 1-inch thick rubber recoil pad, or close to that. Sling swivel stud in the rear, relatively similar stock design, but this is polymer reinforced with fiber. Doesn't feel like fiberglass, doesn't sound like fiberglass. To me, the look and feel of the stock is much cheaper than the Christensen Ridgeline. Similar palm swell, or lack thereof, I guess I should say, and has checkering here. Does have like this grippy coating all over the stock, feels like soft touch rubber. Does come with a all metal bottom metal and floor plate similar to the Christensen. It has metal pillar bedding, but it's not glass bedded or anything like that, or spot bedded. The barrel is free floated when in the stock. Fore end's a little bit fatter than the Christensen Ridgeline. Has a front sling swivel stud. Pretty stiff in the front, but definitely doesn't feel like as nice a stock as the Christensen. Now let's take a look at the receiver. This receiver also utilizes a Remington 700 footprint. The recoil lug on this is sandwiched between the barrel and the receiver, so similar to the Christensen. Does have a Cerakoted receiver though. Bolt body on the bolt is polished. Tactical bolt knob. 2 locking lugs on the bolt. Plunger ejector and a little mini claw extractor. Features a Bergara trigger, extremely nice trigger, adjustable down to about 2.5 pounds. I would say I prefer the Trigger Tech trigger just a little bit more. It feels just a touch better to me. 2-position safety, also does not lock the bolt when on safe, similar to the Christensen. Does have a cocked indicator at the rear. Features a Bergara barrel, fully free floated, 24 inches long, and its Cerakoted does come with a muzzle brake that's radial, and I believe it's threaded 5/8 by 24. This rifle comes in its factory configuration at 7.9 pounds, so quite a bit heavier than the Christensen Ridgeline, and it's 46 inches long. Okay, now let's talk about the feel of the bolt running in the receiver. To me, this Bergara feels a lot smoother and tighter tolerances than the Christensen Ridgeline. The Ridgeline, kind of sloppy, a little bit rougher, not quite as smooth, but that could be due to the spiral fluting. Now let's go ahead and test these out at the range. Woo, that's accurate. All right, now that we're back from the range, let's go over some of the results. The Bergara shot like an absolute dream. It extracted, it fed, it did everything flawlessly, shoots extremely accurately out of the box with factory ammunition, easily capable of half MOA. Very pleased with this rifle. The stock definitely doesn't feel premium though, and ergonomically leaves a little bit to be desired as far as the stock's concerned. The Christensen Ridgeline, all kinds of problems. It's much lighter weight, which makes it inherently a little harder for me to shoot accurately, but that's not really the problem we're going to talk about. With the same factory ammunition, it ejects the brass so vertically up this direction that it actually hits the windage turret of my scope, and you might be like, well, that's the scope's problem. Well, I moved the scope or your mounting issue. You know, you mounted it in the wrong spot. Well, I've moved the scope around, it still does it. It ruins the rim of the brass, literally cracks it in some cases. And I've used that scope on other rifles, and I've had scopes similar to that on hundreds of bolt-action rifles, and I've never had that problem ever. So I'm not going to say it's the scope's fault. This rifle is meant to have a scope mounted on it. I'm going to say that's Christensen's fault. They should have designed that to eject the brass further out at a different angle, so it wouldn't have the potential to hit a windage turret on a scope. Now, that being said, Christensen has excellent customer service. I'm not trying to hate on Christensen, but that's a pretty big deal when you spend that kind of money on a rifle and you have that kind of problem. And it was difficult to get 1 MOA out of this rifle, whereas the Bergara, I was able to get like 3/4, half MOA sometimes out of that rifle pretty easily. Now, that being said, it's impossible for me to say that one rifle is inherently more accurate than the other, because given the very small sampling of factory ammunition shot out both these, you know, with a different factory load or maybe a different shooter, one might be more accurate than the other, and they might have a totally different experience. So both capable of sub MOA. I did get a little bit better accuracy with the same ammunition out of the Bergara, but the big problem with the Christensen is that it was ejecting that brass almost straight up into the elevation turret, and then it would fall back down into the feeding area, and it would cause double feeds and all kinds of issues. Barring that, if I was going on a long backpack hunting trip where weight was an issue, and I wanted something that in every other way is basically more premium, I would pick the Christensen. It has a better trigger, it has a better bedding job done to it, and it's a lot lighter. But if I was going to want to save some money and have an accurate rifle and didn't care as much about weight, I'd pick the Bergara Wilderness Ridge. I hope you enjoyed this video of the Bergara B14 Wilderness Ridge versus the Christensen Ridgeline in 300 PRC. Thanks for watching Bullets for Bucks. Check out this next video and subscribe.